don't know. Charlie's the one that's supposed to be doing the script.
What's that?
I think it's a Polaroid camera. Let's take a picture. Ooh. Wait, what the funk? Funk? Why can't I say funk?
I think we're in the 70s.
Groovy, dude. Okay, that's strange.
Okay, wait, this is kind of fucking perfect for our project. We can interview people from the 70s.
Wait, think I see someone over there.
Have you got some time to answer some questions about a school project we're doing?
Sure, what's cracking?
Okie dokie, first question. What was the most tragic natural disaster that you've been personally impacted with in recent years?
Oh wow. Probably I would have to say the Ebola cyclone. Halfway around the world, but still had an impact on everybody. I believe 500,000 people is what I say. What the toll is currently. It hit Pakistan, and the political tension was heavy. I'm bugging out.
All right, well, the last question would be, what's the worst celebrity death? Who do you miss the most?
I'd probably say Jim Hendrix, or Bruce Lee. Their art took my breath away, and I know my mom is still tripping over this guy named Maslow or whatever.
Oh no, Abraham Maslow? Do you think Miss Martinez knows?
Probably, dude. She is the psychology teacher.
I didn't know that. He was dead. My bad. Alrighty.
Tight. Thank you for your time, dude.
Hey dudes, mind if I ask you a couple of questions?
Sure.
Okay. What's the most impactful social event you've witnessed or that you have personal connection to?
Oh, I'd have to say the Kent State shootings. They took place May 4th, 1970, I think. I know a couple people that go there. What a nightmare. I can't believe the man would do that to people who just peacefully protesting.
Right on. Question number 2. What's your favorite style to admire that you probably would never try yourself?
Probably punk. I don't know, their outfits are real creative, but their hair is just so spiky and outfits are kind of funky.
Moving right along to question number 4. With the increase in television use over the years, what's been your favorite thing to see?
I do like those Coca-Cola ads a bunch. And after school some days, I do enjoy some Scooby-Doo. And maybe sometimes Schoolhouse Rock.
Go on. Last question. What music genre has been the most influential on you? Any particular music style you can't stand?
Classic rock and disco is pretty groovy, but I just can't stand the punk genre. Not like the whole thing. I know you don't agree with that, but I cannot stand the Ramones. Not enough flower power, man. Peace, love, and granola.
Okay, thank you for your time.
We're out of school. Why don't we just interview some other people?
Oh, funk, yeah.
What's that?
What was life like growing up in the 70s, and how is it different from what you see children growing up with now?
Well, the biggest difference was just how much money everybody didn't have in the 70s. It was very, I don't know, you know the term affluence? Now it's kids have cars, and I don't know. I look back at the pictures when I was younger, and our clothes were just very humble. I don't know of another word for it, but just that was probably the biggest difference. Although, who knows, maybe it's where I grew up, but we were all just lower middle class. No phones, cell phones. We had a black and white TV until I was about 8, I think. And huge difference from now. But we played outside all the time. That's what you did. Didn't have video games in the 70s. So we climbed trees, jumped fences.
What was your favorite popular genre of music, and what was your least favorite?
Well, I was pretty young. Towards the end of the 70s, I was 8, 9, 10 years old. This was pretty good. Saturday Night Fever was disco. But I listened to what my dad listened to because he always had it playing in the living room. So it was people you've never heard of, the Letterman and Isaac Hayes, and my mom loved the Bee Gees. And then towards the end of the 70s, I started listening to Casey Kasem on Saturday morning, and he had the America's Top 40, so it was all pop. Pretty soon Michael Jackson was coming, but he wasn't big yet.
What was the fashion or aesthetic you followed growing up? Or I guess if you were really young, what was
Yeah, the 70s were terrible. Bell-bottom pants this wide. All girls had their hair straightened, and that came back. But they didn't have hair straighteners. They would iron their hair on an ironing board. Guys' hair was terrible. Longer, big sideburns. The colors of clothes were disgusting. It was browns and pea greens, and everything was like that. Our furniture, we had a floral couch. It was black and brown. Our fridge was yellow. Cars were ugly. The 70s was not a good decade for fashion, style. Cars in general were just ugly. They didn't. In the 80s, cars started getting really cool. But in the 60s, they were cool. I don't know what happened to us in the 70s. It was awful. Style went out the window.
What was your favorite advertisement, and what was the most annoying ad that you can remember?
I gotta turn this down, I think. There were so many ads on TV. Okay, my favorite one was after school. We'd always watch after school specials, and like Conjunction Junction, What's Your Function, and all that. But there was one called, it was a cheese commercial. It was Hanker for a Hunk of Cheese.
Bang, bang, bang. Oh, howdy, partner. Time for timer. Do you ever get that hungry feeling after school? Boy, I do. I'm so hungry, I could eat a wagon wheel. When I'm slow on the draw and I need something to chaw, I hanker for a hunk of cheese. When my 10-gallon hat's a feeling 5 gallons flat, I got something planned, which is little cheese sandwiches. Come on. Here's a great little snack to tide you over till dinner. If you want something delicious and nutritious, cheese is a super snack. Look, a wagon wheel. When my get up and go has got up and went, I hanker for a hunk of cheese. When I'm dancing, I hold down and my boots kind of slow down, or anytime I'm weak in the knees. I hanker for a hunk of, a slab or slice and chunk of, a snack that is a winner, and yet won't spoil my dinner. I hanker for a hunk of cheese. Yahoo!
That was my favorite. We would all memorize them and then sing them in school. Hanker for a hunk of, a slice of slab, a chunk of something. Hanker for a hunk of cheese. The most annoying advertisement. In the 70s, you could advertise cigarettes. So they would have cigarette ads on TV, and both my parents smoked. And I hated it because I had to breathe in the car. So I hated cigarette advertisements because it just made me mad. Because I really liked clean air, and I was denied that in the car. And sometimes in the house.
I'd walk a mile for a camel.
This little demonstration was strictly for smokers who never tasted a Camel cigarette. Camel smokers, you know what we mean. You other guys, start walking.
what I remember a lot of on TV was Vietnam stuff, and my dad was just there right before I was born, and then he came home, but he would still watch the news to see, because it was still going. It went till like 75 or something like that.
Remember Jonestown?
Yes, I saw it on TV. I remember the video of all these people just laying around, dead, in their, oh gosh, they were like, wasn't it in South Africa, or where was it? Johannesburg, or where was it?
I think it was Africa.
Africa.
They had to move.
And James Jones convinced everybody to drink purple Kool-Aid that had cyanide in it. It was a cult, and kids, adults, everybody died. It was awful. I remember my parents just being devastated. And I didn't understand it because I was 8 years old, but I remember it. Yeah, I forgot about Jonestown. Bad deal. There was a lot of bad crap that went on then. The Green River Killer.
I forgot about him. That he was during the 70s.
He was, and my grandparents lived on the Green River in Auburn, Washington.
Oh,
in a
that
condo.
would be terrifying.
It was, and so we went there a lot, and we would go down to the river, and there's just rocks about this big, and my sister and I would throw rocks in the river for hours, and I had that in the back of my mind, and I turned around once to pick up a rock, and there was a guy standing right behind me in a flannel shirt, and I lost it. I took off, and I just left my sister. She was over there. But that's what I thought. I thought that was him, and it was the neighbor, and he was fishing, and he just came down to say hi, and I felt terrible. But yeah, the Green River Killer, he killed and they all looked the same. They all looked like my aunt, just long, straight-haired, 20-year-old women, and he was just a serial killer. I've seen stuff up on your mom's. Don't they do that in there? Green River Killer, talk about him.
Yeah, he's one of the serial killers we could pick from for a
Yeah,
project.
that river runs right through Auburn, Washington. That was weird.
Do you remember any famous tragic deaths of the decade?
Oh. Yes.
Which one do you remember the most, or that you remember people talking about the most?
Marvin Gaye. Was that in the 70s? I think it was. His own dad shot him. He was at the top of Motown black pop music, and he came home and his dad was abusing his mom, and he told him to stop, and his dad shot him. That was super sad. The Carpenters, I don't know if you heard of them. They're brother and sister, and they sang soft music. A lot of people hated it, but it was always on at our house. But Karen Carpenter died of bulimia. She was anorexic and just threw up until she finally died. That was sad. Who else? Lots of people died in the 70s. Kennedy was 60s.
Was it Elvis? Yeah.
Oh, Elvis. Yes, the day he died, it was August 16th. I can't remember the year, 77, 79.
I think it was 38.
I didn't even know, and I went into my sister's room, and she had all her Elvis records on the floor, and she was laying on her bed, sobbing, and I was like, "What?" She goes, "Elvis died." So, and all I ever remember about Elvis was such a huge. Everybody talked about him like the king of rock and roll, and I'd see him on TV, and at that time in his career, he was really overweight.
Yeah.
And he had totally changed from this clean-cut, good-looking dude to he'd wear these blue polyester suits with sequins and huge glasses. He just looked like a clown. And I just didn't know what the big deal was about him. But yeah, that was big. Elvis dying. Forgot about Elvis. Poor Elvis.
Last question. What was your favorite sports moment of the 70s?
Well, in 1979, the Seattle Supersonics, which they don't exist anymore, that was an NBA team. They are now the Oklahoma City Thunder. But they won the world championship. And I know all the players on that team, all the starters by heart, but I went to a basketball camp later that year, and one of them was my coach. He came back to his college, Washington State, and helped his old coach run this camp. And he was we had a little team of like 7 guys, and he was our coach. His name was James Donaldson. That was big because he was a world champion, and he had a ring he showed us. It was really cool. But yeah, that was pretty big when the Supersonics won it all. There's a lot though in the 70s, but that's the one that sticks out in my head. My Seahawks were terrible. And the Mariners were terrible. But they started in 77, so it was they hadn't been around much. 70s. I did this for the 80s the other day. It's so different.
Okay, well, that's all the questions.
Okay, good.
What was life like growing up in the 70s, and how is it different from what you see children growing up with now?
Okay, so way, way, way different. So I was like 0 to 10, literally, because I was born 5 days before 1970. You were outside all the time. Like, you were playing with friends, you were climbing trees, you were playing with your big wheel. Parents would like send you to 7-Eleven to go buy things, and it could be like 10 blocks away, and you could be 6 years old, and it was totally fine and safe. Like, literally, they would write you a note, and you could go to 7-Eleven and buy them cigarettes when you were only 7 years old. And then if you're really lucky, your parents would give you extra money so you could buy candy cigarettes. And then you would sit around and pretend that you were smoking. You use your imagination. Like, there were no screens. It's horribly, horribly bad time for fashion sense. But it was like little kids were like little kids, and you actually played and had fun. I mean, even TV only had like 4 stations, and one of those was PBS, so it didn't even count. And all the TV stations shut off at like 11 o'clock or midnight. So, I mean, TV was really not a big thing at that time.
What was the fashion/aesthetic you followed growing up?
Come look at this picture. This is a silk shirt. We all had to wear these really ugly silk shirts. Like, there is no way that you could be cute in that early fashion. And you look back, like, none of them were cute. And it's just straight hair. The boys had long hair that would like feather back. Leif Garrett, he was a skateboarder, and dreamy eyes, dreamy hair. For the girls, Farrah Fawcett. Look up these pictures. Farrah Fawcett, Leif Garrett. Boy and girl, they both had the same hair. Farrah Fawcett was beautiful. We all wanted to be her. She was on Charlie's Angels, but she had this poster. It was like the biggest selling poster of all time, where she was in this like just red swimming suit, and she was hot. Okay, super hot. And then fashion was very, very, very bad. Very, very, very ugly. But the hair, man, we'd curl our hair and try and get it to flip back. And I will tell you what, the coolest fashion people, one was Farrah Fawcett. She was on Charlie's Angels. 3 women that were like super, super athletic and super, super smart. And they would like walk around with their guns and be like this. Okay. And then Linda Carter, Wonder Woman, look it up. Okay. And she would do this thing, like her arms were so big and graceful, and then she did this spin, but she would like look you in the eye and she'd spin, and then she would spin. You gotta get the video. And then she would like jump on a trampoline and then jump on the top of a building. And the original Wonder Woman was the bomb. We used to take tin foil. This was the best fashion. We would put it around our wrists and like bam, 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 pretend that we were like Wonder Woman. People were shooting at us, but it would hit our bracelets and we couldn't die. That and Star Wars. We also played Star Wars. I am going to tell you that there was a time where I would put my hair in braids and do a little bun on the side of my head, just like Princess Leia.
What was the most influential advertisement, and what was the most annoying ad?
Ads. First of all, this is going to shock you. The person who wrote the most advertising jingles, because the 70s was the birth of the advertising jingle for sure, Barry Manilow, wrote like 20 of the all-time greatest advertising jingles. Plop, plop, fizz, fizz, oh, what a relief it is, Barry Manilow. Okay? McDonald's, 2 all beef, patty special sauce, lettuce, cheese, something, 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 something on a sesame seed bun, Barry Manilow. Dr. Pepper, I'm a pepper, you're a pepper, she's a pepper, wouldn't you like to be a pepper, to be a pepper, drink Dr. Pepper. Barry Manilow, it was all Barry Manilow. But my favorite ad jingle was for Shasta, okay? Taste, pizzazz, all that great taste Shasta has. I wanna taste, I wanna pow, I wanna taste my Shasta now. I wanna pop, pop, I wanna Shasta. And I would like sing it in the aisles at the grocery store. My mom would still not buy it. But the number one all-time ad, not just of the 70s, but of all time, Coca-Cola. Mean Joe Green, Pittsburgh Steelers. He was legit one of the meanest, biggest, toughest, nastiest football players of all time. And Coke did this ad where Mean Joe Green is walking down the tunnel to go out onto the field, and there's this cute little boy who's like, hey, Mean Joe Green, can I get your autograph? And Mean Joe Green turns and looks at him with his Mean Joe Green eyes. And does the kid toss him a Coke, or does Mean Joe Green toss the kid a Coke? I don't know. And then Mean Joe Green goes, here, kid, and tosses him his jersey. The entire nation melted at this. It is classic, iconic, all-time ad. Anyone from the 70s knows it. Mainly too, because Pittsburgh Steelers and Dallas Cowboys, those were the only 2 teams that anyone liked in the 70s, and they totally played it up. And this is where they came up with the have a Coke and a smile, because Mean Joe Green actually smiled.